Welcome to the Early Education Conversation, where we discuss the transformative power of early learning with thought leaders, educators, and community members. Today we are joined by Howard Burnston, Senior Corporate Counsel at First Horizon Bank and Chairman of the Early Learning Coalition of Palm Beach County Board.
Today is a really exciting day for us. So we are talking to our board chair, Howard Burnston, who is amazing, has been with us for more years than I can remember. And he's going to be talking all about being a dad and what it's like to be in a family and raise these incredible kids of his. But he'll also be looking back about what early learning means to him. So, Howard, welcome.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. This is such an exciting time for us. So I always start the podcast by saying, what does early learning mean to you?
So that's sort of the $1,000,000 question, right?
Yep.
So it's early learning to me is the foundation of everything. I don't know how else to phrase it, right? You can't build a house unless you have a strong foundation that it's built on. For a person starting at birth, right? That foundation, if it's not built correctly, the rest of the house, it will be weak and it won't stand the way it should. But if you have a strong foundation, you can build anything on top of it. So that's how I always envision early childhood education.
Got to tell you, Howard, if you had said anything but other than foundational, we would have to have a talk.
Yeah, well.
Right? Because being our board chair for so long, you certainly have gotten to know a lot about why early learning matters, right?
Yes. You know, when I started, and you know, when I joined this board, I felt like I was a fish out of water, right? I'm in business community. I'm not in education as a background. I joined because I wanted to, and I always felt it was important, but I didn't truly understand it. And the longer I've been on the board, you know, you wouldn't know, but I didn't say a word on that board of directors because I felt out of my depth. And the longer I've been there, the more I'm convinced that it is one of the most important things for our community.
Yeah, so when you think about our board and, you know, when you think about early learning, we know that early learning is economic infrastructure, right? And that is something that we are pushing. So tell the audience a little bit about your background and your professional background.
So by background, I am an attorney. I'm a corporate attorney, which is about as far as you can get from being in early childhood education. But I grew up, both of my parents were educators, career educators in inner city schools, right? My father was a history teacher and then ran dropout prevention programs. He taught remedial history and he was working in one of the most difficult districts, East New York, in Brooklyn, New York, was where the Brownsville kids didn't want to go, right? And so he had students in his class that had no interest in education by the time they were in middle school. They were done, they were there because they had to. And my mom taught on Long Island in New York, and she was in a school district that was taken over by the state, I think twice. But growing up, I heard from my parents on a regular basis. I would help them grade papers, or I would sometimes go into school and meet their students, but I heard my parents say repeatedly, they're expressing their frustrations at the system that had failed these kids, and that by the time they got to them in middle school, it was too late, right? It was too late, that somebody needed to get to them earlier. And they would say things like, these are smart kids, they're not dumb kids, but they don't have anything to build on. So by the time I'm trying to teach them what I'm supposed to teach them, they don't have the information that they need in order to learn it and process it and actually understand it. But not only that, they've lost interest. So they just didn't want to be there, and again, they were there because they had to be. They loved what they did. You can't do something for 30 years if you don't love doing it. And so they were passionate about it in their own way. And so I always saw that frustration. They made sure to instill in my sister and I, and then my brother, this love for learning at an early age. And so I remember being a little kid and I would play school with my sister. And I was 2.5, and she was teaching me what she was learning in kindergarten and first grade. And by the time I got to kindergarten, first grade, oh, I know this. My sister taught this to me. So there was a foundation that we had that was instilled by our parents. And in part, not because it was anything special, but because they had that love for education from an early age. So that was the basis for how I started like my entire life.
So someone asked me a fabulous question the other day, and I thought, well, I'm going to steal this. So they said to me, what was my first memory that I've had in my childhood? Like, what's the first memory that you can go all the way back and think? Now, mine was, I was 2, and I was at the dining room table with my grandfather and fell in love with him. And I felt it. I felt that love. That was my first instance of falling in love. And I remember him talking. He was talking to all grown-ups, and I was just kind of sitting there at the table listening to him. But he had this thing where he realized I was listening to him, but then he started translating in kid language what he was talking about so that I was included in the conversation. And I realized many moons back that that's exactly what I do when I speak. So when I speak, I'm always explaining, making sure people are with me at all times, no matter who you are. So that's my earliest memory. What's yours?
Oh, so mine is so completely different. I'm going to keep this one short, but mine is sort of traumatic in that my parents were buying a house. I was 2. They were buying a house, and they were at a realtor, and they left me in the car. It was winter. I must have been sleeping. They left me in the car, which you would do back then. And
look before you lock, Howard.
I'm sorry?
Look before you lock.
Yes, right. No, please, nobody do that. Please, nobody do this. But there was a neon sign. It was Vigilant Realty, and it just flashed the neon letters, V-I, and I woke up in the car with these neon letters flashing. My parents nowhere to be seen, and that is literally my earliest memory. My earliest, happiest memory was actually when we moved into that house. And the first day we were there, this little boy who lived down the street just came knocking on the door and said, "Can the little boy who lives here come out and play?" And that to me meant the world. Here I was, it was a brand new house, a new town, we were moving from the city. I don't have any recollection of the city, but moving out to the suburbs and having somebody just walk up to your house and say, "Can he come out and play?" And my parents said yes. And so that was my very first memory, was this feeling of inclusion and of, okay, this is different and this is good and it doesn't feel so foreign.
So think about that first memory and those early years you've had with your parents. How did that travel forward into you being a parent?
It literally, you can project that completely forward. So my parenting style, I think, and you can ask my kids to verify, but it was always, there were 2 things. One was to foster what it was that they found an interest in. So I tried not to steer them in a particular direction, although, to be fair, I'm a huge baseball fan. My son had no choice but to grow up to play baseball.
Sure.
So I will take that as an exception to the rule. But when my kids wanted to read, I would read with them. When they wanted to watch Dora the Explorer, we would watch Dora. When they wanted to play soccer, we would go play soccer. And when they found something that they were interested in, whether it was dance or music, which became a family passion, that was, I would try and guide them and steer them, but provide them the support. It was never to direct them to something, but it was find something that you love and you're interested in, you're good at, and we will support that endeavor. And so I have 3 kids, and my 2 oldest are girls, and they both did dance for 10 years, and they did it until they were no longer interested in pursuing it beyond that point. Each one of my kids did play piano, and we thought giving a foundation in music would be just a great foundational item for anything that they wanted to do later in life, whether they pursued music or not. So they each played piano until they were no longer interested. But my oldest, at various points, it was dance and music, and it was musical theater, and she played soccer, she played basketball. My middle daughter was into, she did dance and music primarily. And then my son played various sports in addition to the music. He wanted to play basketball, he wanted to play soccer. At one point we were trying to juggle both travel soccer and travel baseball at the same time, which is virtually impossible. So there's that. So one is give them ability to find their passion, find what they're interested in, and then support that.
Yeah.
The other came from a place where I, look, in my middle, early teen years, I was kind of a latchkey kid. My parents did get divorced. My mom worked 2 jobs to support my sister and I. And so I would come home and have to figure out what homework I have to do, what things I needed to do if there was something special at school. I was kind of on my own for some of those things. And look back now, and in 9th grade, I was all county chorus myself, which if you heard me sing, I'm not.
He's absolutely
I am terrible.
not telling you the truth, because
So-
he is known as the karaoke king. So that's something to know about
We
Howard
can
that you
edit this
don't
out,
know.
yes. So, but I actually missed a concert. Right? Who misses a concert at their school, especially when you're in all county chorus? And it wasn't until the next day that the teacher said, "Oh, are you feeling okay?" And I said, "Yeah, I feel fine." Why? And she said, "Well, you weren't at the concert last night." And I went ghostly pale, right? I didn't know how could I miss that? So the thing that I thought for my kids, and I feel this way passionately, is be the person that you needed when you were younger. And so I always felt my kids should never not know when their concert is, right? They should always know, and that somebody is there making sure that they've got what they need. And
I want to say this to you, because you've been with us for a very long time, but I think that's the piece of you that you bring to our organization that is so important to us, because many of our families don't have that piece, right? And so as an agency, that's kind of the mantle we take as well, right? To be the people for children who they may not have. Right?
It's so true.
Because so many parents are working multiple jobs and just don't have the bandwidth.
That is exactly what. That is exactly the passion that I feel for this. Is that families? I'm blessed. I'm very fortunate. Right, my wife is amazing. Right, she raised the kids. I didn't mess it up. Right, that's the way I describe it. But she has always been there, and she's always been the backbone for our family and the support. And we're fortunate that she's able to do that. And we know that in the community there are just families. The substantial majority of the families don't have that ability. That it takes two parents working, grandparents contributing where and when they can, and even then sometimes it's just difficult to make things work. So having our resources and our people who you can tell the passion that they have for what they do, having them here as an additional level of support that may take some of that stress away from the family, and saying, okay, we've got we've got resources available. That to me is paramount.
What are we doing well? What are we doing well at the coalition?
So the shorter answer is, what aren't we doing well? But really, it's what we do at the coalition, right, is we are stewards of funds, of money that comes in from various places, whether it's federal or state, our CSC, our partner, thank you, and our various other partners and funding sources. We are stewards of their money, and it's on us, it's incumbent upon us to use it wisely, and use it in a way that gets the results that we're looking for. So that's, you're the person who should speak to this, because it's because of you, right, that we have shown those results, measurable results, that have markedly improved school readiness in our kids, so that way they come in ready to go, ready to learn, ready for life. We build our
Or vision and mission statement.
The mission statement, thank you. I couldn't think of it. The mission statement, right, is having our children ready to learn and ready for life. And so if we're not looking towards that mission, that goal, then we're going to veer far away, right? A slight deviation from that, the further you go, it's a further miss. And so always remembering that we're looking towards that is just that. So yeah.
That definitely is our North Star, and I think we have come so far. We still have a long way to go, right? our goal of 2030, 100% readiness.
readiness,
And we are
yeah.
mapping towards that. So
If you ever get complacent, you fall behind. So,
exactly,
right?
exactly. What are we not doing, or what should we be doing?
The vision for 2030 with 100% school readiness gets us this generation. But what are we doing to sort of plan? Every good organization has a short-term and a long-term plan. You could say a 1 year, 3 year, 5 year. We're going into 26. 2030 is only 4 years away.
Right.
So what are we doing that's going to build a strong foundation for our organization beyond 2030, right? We look at this, you know, and Warren's going to get mad at me for saying this. Warren Eldridge is our CEO, for those who don't know. I'm not going to be on the board forever. Warren's not going to be CEO forever. What is the legacy that we're going to be building that will make our organization sustainable for the long term? That's what I'd like to think about next.
What would you want the legacy to be for you leaving our board?
So I never really thought about my legacy because I'm not ready to go. But
That's okay, we're not ready for you to go either.
thank you very much.
But let's think about it anyway.
So I can go back. I went to grad school, and when I went to grad school, I did it because I knew I hadn't done as much in my college life as I wanted to set myself up for the kind of career in life that I wanted. And when I chose my grad school, I chose it in part because of finances. But I got there and I said to myself, I want to leave this place better than I found it. So that was it. I wasn't just there to get an education. I wanted to build something there. So while I was there, I had an internship at the dean's office, and we got a phone call for a national organization that was actually for graduate women in business, and they wanted to speak to the person who was in charge of it. And I took the phone call, and I just looked and said, we don't have this. And so I went to the dean and I said, this is a national organization, we don't have it, we should. And so I got information and I spoke to them and I put it together, and I went to the dean and said, I think we should do this, but I'm clearly not the person who should be running this. We need to find someone. And so that organization got started there. And it still exists. So it's, I don't want to say how many years. I think it's like 30, it's literally like 30 years later, and it's still there.
Yeah.
And so I feel like I want our organization, I want the Early Learning Coalition of Palm Beach County to be better when I am gone than it was when I started. I feel like we're on the path.
I think we are. So you don't know this, but I'm a magician,
Oh, okay.
a really accomplished one. And I
Are you talking professionally, or do you mean actually
just,
like?
you know, go with it.
Okay. Yeah.
And I have a magic wand,
Okay.
and I have given this piece of magic to you, where you went to sleep last night, and you don't know this, but I have fixed everything. And when you wake up, what's the first thing? Just think of it in context of early learning. What's the first thing that's gonna kind of tell you something has changed? Something has changed, something has gotten good. What would be the thing in early learning that you would wake up and say, wow, things are different?
I'll start by saying that we as a coalition never really went out into the community at large, right? We stayed within our community and within our lane, so to speak, right? Within early education. But we did not go out and communicate with the business community, with the governmental leadership to express the importance of our vision, right? And I feel like that's something that we have started doing, but it needs to grow, and it needs to get communicated in a way that resonates. And I think there are ways to do it, but but that is something where when we see business leaders, like we are fortunate. Palm Beach County has a business community. It's coming down there are people coming down in corporations coming down from New York that are setting up shop here, right? We're going to have a university, Vanderbilt University, opening a graduate school in West Palm Beach, right? Things are happening.
Cleveland Clinic Hospital.
It is our entire county is just growing. It is one of the fastest growing counties in the entire country, and there's a lot of opportunity there, because if you're coming into a new community and you're bringing your employees there, you're going to want to know that there are places for them to live, there are good schools, and especially when you have your people you're trying to recruit new people, young people, they're going to want to start families. And so childhood education, right? Everything from daycare to VPK, right? It all, you want to know that there's a supportive environment, so that way your employees aren't worrying about it on a daily basis. They know it's taken care of. But it also builds that community because the kids are doing well, right? So nobody's looking to leave because, hey, I would love to stay, but I don't know what to do with my kids, or I don't want to send them to school here. So there's an opportunity for us to integrate with the community at large, and not just within the educational community.
Yeah, I mean, it's taking early learning and stop looking at it as a social service and start looking at it as economic infrastructure, right?
Yeah. And I know you and I have talked about this, so you know the facts and the details. I'm sort of the bigger picture person, but the return on investment for early childhood education is so much greater than economic investments normally are. And it returns in so many different ways, not just that the kids are smarter and happier, but you have fewer sick days for parents who need to take care of their kids on days when they would normally be at work, and so there's economic loss there. There are more. We have more schools. You have more teachers. They live in the community. That the money that goes to paying for those schools and paying for those teachers circulates throughout the community as well. And so there's continued economic growth. So there's so many different ways that it's beneficial from an economic factor, and it is an engine of growth.
And I think people are really starting to see that. I had an opportunity to listen to Commissioner Flores talk about District 3. And he was talking about, we want businesses to come to my district, but they won't come if I don't have great childcare sites and great school sites. And, because where are their children going to go? And, what's amazing about Commissioner Flores' district is that 70% of their children leaving VPK, are ready for school. Right? So how can we make more children come to VPK is a big thing in that district and all of our county, right? Getting more children involved in VPK, and then figuring out what the solution is for the summer for those children as they're waiting that 3-month time, right? So I think point well taken.
There's another 30% there that we still...
Absolutely.
Right? That 70% is great.
We have 4 years to get there.
Right.
So,
That's another 30% that we can do a lot of good for.
And it's a climb, right? It's definitely a climb. So what's next for you? Obviously, you're not leaving the coalition, but what's next for you? What do you want to do? What do you want to see happen with your kids, at home, personally?
If you get me starting talking about the kids, this podcast is going to need part 2, part 3. It's just not going to end. We're actually at a point right now where I started on the board when my son was just starting pre-K 2. We were clients, right, of the coalition, and he is a senior in high school. So we are right now waiting to hear about college applications, and we have other college applications to complete. So I am about to become an empty nester.
Oh, I'm there. It's not good.
No, well, so what I'm saying is that I'm going to have more time to be more involved, and right. So because my wife is certainly not going to want me bored at home all the time. I plan to just be out there in the community a little bit more than I have been, because I'll have that opportunity to do that.
It's a totally different world. A parent without children after that empty nest thing. It's a whole different world that you come into, and I'm learning that now. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, and you're using lots of very neutral words there. Is it better? Is it worse? Like, which way? Because
it started out. So I'm only in 1 semester in now, but it started out really rough. I got to tell you, it started out really rough. That you lose your job, right? Because you're parenting an adult now, and so you lose this job of consistently guiding and molding and doing that thing to more now listening right? Being this backboard, waiting for them to kind of like figure out their own lives, because it's not about you anymore. It's about them now. You've given them all you can give them. Now it's just the supporting, and seeing where they're going to go, so you don't influence too much where they go,
Right.
and they don't lose their way of what's, purposefully theirs and intentionally theirs. So it is a very different walk. But I find a semester in, I'm starting to enjoy that relationship. And I'm starting to realize we can talk about things in a different way. Like before, every time I spoke to her, I felt like I was teaching, like I was giving a lesson. I was making sure that she got the whole crux of it. Now I can ask her opinion. What's your opinion? Like, what would you do? So it's good. It's good. It
Okay.
ends up good. It starts terrible.
Well, so fortunately, this is my third. So I've gone through that process with the first two. And
But Howard, you haven't gone through the process where the refrigerator is empty and you're eating
this is
popcorn
the
for
thing
dinner.
where we don't have to wake up at 5:30 in the morning to make sure somebody
Absolutely.
gets out the door, or the idea of what do you have? Tomorrow is wear all white day
Yeah,
for school,
yeah,
so we have to
yeah.
pick out the clothes in advance. Or
Exactly.
hey, today my son has 2 midterms, right? So was he prepared, and
Right,
what is he
right.
okay, but you studied for the 2 today, what about the one you have tomorrow?
Yeah.
Right? What
Yeah.
work is going to have to be done over winter break? Don't have to do any of that anymore.
Absolutely.
For
If
me,
you-
the biggest challenge that I found with my girls when they left was to figure out when they were calling because they needed to vent
Yeah.
versus when they were actually seeking advice.
Right.
And choosing wrongly was a poor outcome.
Especially with girls.
And they're wonderful.
Yeah.
And usually it was they just needed an outlet so they could process it and think it through.
Yeah.
But that is a process as a parent,
Yeah.
is to just sort of get comfortable with
Yeah.
when they're seeking the
Oh,
advice
absolutely.
versus
Absolutely. All the TikToks are true. I looked at these TikToks before and they would have these things that said, what does my parent eat? Because when they come home from school, the refrigerator is empty. So true, it happens. The refrigerator is empty. So before we leave,
Yes.
I want you to talk about your pin, because I know that story and it's a really sweet story, but I wanted
Yes.
you to talk a little bit about the pin you're wearing.
So I absolutely will, but I had one thing that I wanted to make sure, and
Yeah.
it just came out yesterday,
Sure.
was I got my LinkedIn year in review.
Oh,
And I don't know if you've gone on there. And
I
you've
haven't
seen
gone
it
on yet to see mine.
So it gives you, the number of people that you've connected with,
Yeah.
the people who've sought to follow you, but it also gives you a descriptor telling you who you are, what you do within LinkedIn. But it also tells you the person that you contact or communicate the most, and you were my number 1 person.
No way.
Yes.
I love this.
Right? I discovered
That's
this yesterday.
great.
So you were my number 1 person. Either I've liked yours or I've reposted your posts.
That's amazing.
And so what it said about me was that I am an amplifier. So I don't.
like that.
I know, me too. I didn't think I was going to really like this. Like,
I like that.
My Spotify year in review. Basically, I'm a 16-year-old girl based on my music taste. I don't know. But
I gotta check that one out.
well, it's like K-pop Demon Hunters and Taylor Swift, and it's got some stuff for my son in there too. But I think I'm a 16-year-old girl. But so I didn't think I was going to care too much about it. But I saw it and I said, wow, this is really cool.
Yeah.
I am an amplifier, right? My message is other people's message, and if I can use my platform
that.
to expand that message, then that's what I do. But you were my number 1 person that I contacted
love
this year,
that.
right?
I love that. I didn't know that they told you that, so I'm gonna have to look online.
I think this is the first year they've ever done it.
That's
But it was
amazing.
perfect. I wanted to make sure to get that out there today and make sure you knew.
Oh, so tell us about your
So
pin.
it says, I can never remember exactly what it says, but it says
Education,
children first. Thank you. That was it. Education, children first. So I told you my parents were both in early childhood education. My mom passed away at the beginning of this year. And so we were going through her stuff, and my sister came over with a bunch of pins and jewelry and things for my daughters. Found a chain that I had when I was, in high school, but we found this pin in her stuff. And so I just looked at it and said, I've always talked about the fact that I sort of come by my interest in early childhood education honestly, even though it's not my career, but I always came by it because my parents always felt passionate about it. And the fact that my mother not only had a pin, but saved it with her precious items, I said, I have to have this pin, right? I have to have it. And so this is now, some people will wear a flag, right? Or they'll wear something. So this is kind of my way of, it's a bit of a legacy.
That is a really sweet story and a really great way to honor your mom.
Yeah.
So awesome.
Thanks.
Well, thank you so much for spending some time with us. I know you're really busy, but I wanted to say thank you so much for spending time with us. But not only that, for spending all of these years amplifying the work of early learning and making sure that we are staying on the right path. We have really enjoyed having you as our board member and really enjoyed having you today on our podcast. So
thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it. And for anyone who has not listened to the prior editions, Michaela Buchanan was right before me, and she was incredible. So if you're somehow finding us now, please go back and listen to the earlier episode.
And go on this episode and tell him how great he is, because apparently he needs to know this. Thank you so much.
Thank you.